Why did Jesus refer to the Syrophoenician woman as a dog? Hey everybody, I'm Dan McClellan. I'm a scholar of the Bible and religion, and we find this story in Mark chapter 7, beginning in verse 24. And it starts with Jesus in Tyre, which is outside of the land of Israel. This is Gentile territory. And the narrative represents Jesus as trying to maintain what scholars have referred to as the messianic secrets. And this is the convention of the author of the Gospel of Mark to represent Jesus as trying to keep his mission and his activity under wraps. But it never really works out. So we see toward the end of this verse, he did not want anyone to know he was there, yet he could not escape notice. Verse 25, but a woman whose little daughter had an unclean spirit immediately heard about him, and she came and bowed down at his feet. Now the woman was a Gentile of Syrophoenician origin. She begged him to cast the demon out of her daughter. He said to her, let the children be fed first, for it is not fair to take the children's food and throw it to the dogs. But she answered him, Sir, even the dogs under the table eat the children's crumbs. Then he said to her, for saying that, you may go. The demon has left your daughter. And when she went home, she found the child lying on the bed and the demon gone. Now, there are a few things to note about this metaphorical reference to the Syrophoenician woman as a dog. To begin, the perception of dogs, and particularly the rhetorical utility of dogs within literature, differed between Gentile and Jewish audiences. Within Jewish literature, dog was more of an insult. Dogs were conceptualized more commonly as scavengers, as animals that lived on the street. And we see in later Jewish literature the epithet dog being hurled at Gentiles quite frequently. It was insulting. Within Gentile literature, dogs were more commonly kept as pets and were more commonly treated as a part of the household. Now, the author of the Gospel of Mark might be playing with that distinction. They might be representing Jesus as talking about taking the food that belongs to the children and throwing it out into the street to the dogs that roam the streets. And then the Syrophoenician woman could be responding from a more Gentile perspective and saying, well, no, the dogs are under the table. They're already in the house. They're a part of the house. They're next in line. However we perceive it, though, the notion that because the Greek word for dog is diminutive, it is a loving reference to a family pet or something like that is not really supported by the data. In the Koine Greek of this time period, the diminutive was used most commonly to refer generically to dogs, and usually to the dogs out in the street, rather than the pets that might be in someone's household, a part of one's household, loved by the household.
So yes, your perfect Jesus called that woman a dog. A biatch, yes, is what Jesus called her. Looked at her differently. Now, Dan goes on in his video to explain how it wasn't necessarily a thing of racism, but more of a situation of ethnocentric behavior, where they looked at each other's tribes as one higher than one lower, as the children of Israel are supposed to be better than everybody else. So it is Jesus being a part of the culture and not being above the culture. But there were a couple of statements that people made, and definitely go look at Dan's video. But there were a couple of statements that people made in the comments that I thought was very intriguing, and I wanted to share that with you guys and give you some more information about. So this commenter in Dan's video made the comment about how in Matthew 15:24, he corrected himself. It talks about Jesus saying that he came here for the children of Israel to fulfill the messianic prophecy, that he didn't come here for everybody else. Now, I know that some people are going to say, well, the lost sheep wind up being part of the Great Commission. And he said, at first tell the Jews and then go tell the Gentiles. So everybody was included. And then in Romans, it talks about how this is for everybody. Now, remember, Romans is Paul writing, not your Jesus talking, but you're supposed to believe that this Bible is the inspired word of God. So it all should still add up, right? But this is why we deconstruct, because we see we see this negative attitude, this negative mentality, this ethnocentric mentality. But then we also see how this Bible is contradictory of itself. If he said that he came for the lost sheep of Israel, but then later on, as writers made his story more grand, he now is coming for the Gentiles as well, because they see that they can attract Gentiles with this religion. And plus, the Roman Empire wanted to create a docile version of Judaism. Now, another person also, that when the story about Jesus in Matthew 8, when he came in contact with the centurion, he acted a little different when he came to some power. When there was a little power play that he had to deal with. So when he had a little power play, so when Jesus came and had to deal with the Roman centurion, his attitude changed. Now he's acting a little different. Remind you of a lot of these pastors. When they're dealing with the common folk, the people that are that have less money and less power in society, the pastor acts one way, act with authority. Jesus told that woman, called her a dog, and that she shouldn't be able to get from what the Israelite children should have. And the woman had to humble herself, as they like to teach this in church, but what it is, she knew the difference. She understood the racism, the Jim Crow that was going on with this situation. So when he's talking to this woman, and we already know in their time frame, a woman was equal to a cow, he's different. He's authoritative. But when he's talking to the Roman centurion, talking to the government, like when a lot of these pastors, when that politician come in, all of a sudden they acting different. When that rich person in the church, that business owner in the church is in there, they acting a little different. President come walking into town, they acting a little different. Kind of like Pam, Philip Anthony Mike Mitchell, telling you to be a model citizen, humble yourself, teach your children to obey authority. When he's talking to the people with the money and the power, he want to get all humble. Jesus told the centurion, yes, just go to your house and your child will be healed and whatever. If you cannot identify the hypocrisy of the fact that he said that he came first for the Israelites, and then later writers and Paul wrote that he came for everybody, that would be a contradiction. If you cannot ascertain that he called this woman a dog and thought ethnocentrically, thought that they were less than, that she wasn't deserving of his message, but then she had to flip the script on him. And then if you cannot see that he acts differently depending upon who he's talking to, got a little power, got a little authority, got a little money, he's gonna act different. This is why we deconstruct from this book, because it's written by man with the mindset of man, demonstrating the attitude and cultures of man. But hey, what do you guys think? Always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.